Good afternoon. So where are we in Web3? I was backstage and I heard some good explanations on DeFi and stuff that is going on in this space, and I'll take you to my journey in the last 4 years. My name is Rhett Oudkerk Pool. I'm a passionate serial entrepreneur. I founded 4 companies. I've sold 2. The last one was a year ago. Was a cybersecurity company, 60 people, 3 countries. And 4 years ago, I got very passionate on EOS. If you look that side, you see our booth from the EOS Network Foundation and Zilliqa. Zilliqa is a company that I founded 4 years ago. And I will tell you a little bit about what we've done in the last few days and a few years and what we are doing right now. I invest in these sort of cybersecurity companies and Web3 companies. And I'm a board member of 2 companies, 2 tokens and Proton Chain. 2tokens.org is very interesting because there we try to push for use cases. Let me explain a few use cases. One use case is invoice market, where we try to standardize invoices and create NFTs of them. My previous company had, for example, a company like ASML as a client, big company, very arrogant, and they negotiated 90 days payment terms with me. But every month I did the same service. So you can imagine that if you send an invoice, that they very quickly can tell you that they agree with that invoice. Let's say after 11 days, they can sign that it's an undisputed invoice. And you have payment terms of 90 days. That means basically that from day 12 until day 90, this invoice is financeable, can be financed very easily on an open marketplace, on an open DeFi platform. But to make that very efficient, we need standards. So we're working with several banks in the Netherlands to create that sort of standards so that we can very easily trade invoices. You can, in Slovenia, there's a government portal where, for example, the tax office matches invoices. So this company gets VAT returned, and this company needs to pay VAT. And if the government matches them, then you can imagine that these companies don't need to wait until somebody pays them so that somebody else can get money back. So that sort of matching is very interesting. And platforms like blockchain and Web3 are very efficient in doing that. And we are working on that sort of use cases for invoicing. Portugal, where I live, very recently also passed a law to make this sort of matching possible. And blockchains are a very easy mechanism to make that. And NFTs are very easy mechanisms to implement that. The NFT ownership is the person that gets the money after 90 days. That's the general idea. I am an ambassador of the EOS network. We have a booth over there, so come talk to us later. Zilliqa is a consortium company of block producers in Europe, and we launched the first GDPR-compliant blockchain. Blockchain has immutability. Blockchain has functionality that you never can be forgotten because it's in the blockchain forever. And the GDPR has a feature, has a regulations that said if you want to be forgotten, you have the ability to ask the data collector to be forgotten. So, for example, you're a client of a bank. After 30 years, lousy service, you say, I don't want to be your client anymore. The GDPR allows you to ask for that bank to forget you. In reality, they don't forget you. What they do, they add you to a list of customers that want to be forgotten. They don't delete you from all the backup tapes from the basement. They just manage you on a list of customers that need to be forgotten. And that's how we do it in the blockchain as well. So we have a permissioned Europe chain where we manage a list of customers that want to be forgotten. One very big advantage in our system, we can have you sign that transaction. You go to the portal, you say, I want to be forgotten. You sign that transaction and you're on the list of forgotten clients. Additionally, we are building a KYC platform, an identity platform. If you look at all the regulations out there right now, like the MiCA regulation, and maybe you've seen everything in the news, there's a very big push for KYC, know your customer, so the ability to identify yourself. We have a platform where you just use your phone, tap your passport, we read the chip, and you're very fastly KYC'd. Not in a way banks do it, because they want everything correct in the dossier. No, in a fast way, very user-friendly. Zyzen is a consortium company from all the block producers in Europe, and we are supporting the EOS Network Foundation in their journey, because this journey is very special. If you are familiar with EOS, or not familiar with EOS, EOS was the biggest ICO 4 years ago. They raised $4 billion, but the EOS community never got any value out of that 4 billion. Basically, we got scammed. About a year ago, we got so fed up with that organization, we kicked them out and we started to self-organize. So this blockchain, the token holders, we organized ourselves, we took ownership back of that chain, and yesterday we forked to a new software repository. That was our official Independence Day. We fixed I think there was 2,600 bugs in the software. We fixed all of them, and yesterday we were independent. We also changed the name of the software. The software is now called Antelope, and there's many blockchains that use that software. Our Europe chain uses it. Maybe you've heard of Wax. Wax is the biggest NFT platform in the world. Many people know OpenSea. OpenSea is famous for expensive NFTs. But if you look at volume, NFTs that are traded for €1 or 50 euros or 15 cents, then you need a blockchain where the transactions are free, and the Antelope software is used in the Wax blockchain, the most used blockchain in the world. If you look at the game platforms, the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4 and the number 5 are all on Antelope blockchains. If you have a project that runs on EVM and is programmed in Solidity, in the Antelope ecosystem, we have multiple EVM capabilities, so we can run your Solidity smart contracts as well. So there was a small introduction. What I particularly want to dive into is what I learned in the last few years. So what is Web3? Let me take you to that story. Web 1 was very simple. It was static internet. Web 2 became a little bit more interesting, the way we know it right now. Interactive social media applications. And Web 3 is going to be very different. In Web 3, we will have a world where we have value introduced. And then it starts to be interesting, because then we have money, we have transactions. And we have a world where we can send each other, email each other value. We can email somebody else an NFT, we can email somebody else money. And if you look back 30 years ago, the first generation of internet, we didn't have the applications that we have right now. So this Web3 will offer us and will develop all kinds of new use cases where I also don't know what they will bring. Because this internet is trustworthy, we can really build different mechanisms And a really keyword to remember is disintermediation. Right now, for any valuable transaction, we have a middleman. We have a bank, we have a notary, we have somebody in between who takes care of the transaction to make sure that the transaction is correctly processed. In the Web3 world, these transactions will be directly between you and the other side. We see already manifestations of this, that companies like that are used to send money to third world countries, like a Western Union, these companies will disappear. They don't add any value in this Web3 world where we can send money directly to the other side of the planet. Additionally, most of this ecosystem is built on open source. We know open source. In this world, everybody knows WordPress, but WordPress had a difficult journey. It is difficult to market open source software. WordPress was successful because they had a very interesting, what you see is what you get editor, but it's difficult to develop open source software because you don't have a business model. In this world, we have tokenomics, we have worker proposal systems, we have a whole ecosystem of financial capabilities to fund these public goods. So in this open source blockchain Web3 world, we see a lot of worker proposal systems. There's money available. It's a strange world. If you look around in this crypto blockchain Web3 world, there's a lot of Bitcoin millionaires. So there's a lot of money available in this ecosystem, in this world, to build these sort of open source software solutions. Looking at Web3, what kind of tools do we see? My previous speaker spoke about DeFi, decentralized finance, as an alternative to centralized finance. He also told you that some things are not available yet. We see solutions for governance, governance for shareholders, governance for governments, voting systems, a lot of solutions that try to address the governance problems that we have in the world. And grant and philanthropy, and that is very tied to governance. How do you distribute that sort of financial projects? We see a lot of marketplaces for NFTs, so buying, selling, and collecting of pictures. We see a lot of games being developed right now, games that are capable of trading NFTs in marketplaces where NFTs from game 1 can be used in game 2 and can be staked, and in return of that you get upgrades, power-ups, very interesting models. Everybody's still experimenting in this gaming world, in this entertainment part of the world. And you see social media apps. An amazing example is Steemit. Steemit was a social media blogging platform where users liked posts. These posts got turned into a monetization model with tokens, and these tokens were worth something because there were advertisers and there were technical people that wanted to do something in that ecosystem. So look it up, Steam, it's now called Hive, has an amazing tokenomics model, and this project is already 5-6 years old. Very interesting social media blogging platform. So what does a company, for example, like Gartner say about this? They see these 5 elements in blockchain: distribution, encryption, immutability, tokenization, and decentralization, and that gives these functions primary capabilities and some additional advanced functions where you talk about fractionalization, for example, and very important, in my opinion, programmability. Because with this sort of tools, you can program money. Everybody probably heard of smart contracts where you use logic to distribute something. We have done project where if the container arrives in a harbor, automatically 40% of the locked up tokens, the locked up stable coins were released. This is a funny thing I did. Gartner has something that is called hype cycle. So you see a hype. Everybody gets very enthusiastic, and then, oh shit, this technology is nothing. And I think NFTs are there now. NFTs are all the way up there, and then nobody trades them anymore. And now they go up again very slowly, and they reach their normal, realized, realistic, I would say, level of adoption. This is a classic hype cycle. I think you can recognize it in a lot of technologies. They follow up and then go down, and then it's more realistic expectations what this technology can do. So looking at many of the current technologies that you use, you see cryptocurrencies, you see decentralized applications, you see NFTs. They're a little bit high on this chart. I think they are now all the way down. You see stable coins and a lot of discussions. Also, my previous speaker was talking about stable coins because you can program a lot with this. Looking at what we deliver in our ecosystem, in our products and in our portfolios, you see that we have a lot of products in different phases of the ecosystem. We have identity wallets in our portfolio. We have platforms where you can build upon, like the Europe chain. We're building a chain for India as well. I didn't mention that, but we are building such a chain. And we are going to connect that to an ecosystem of the Indian government called India Stack, where they have a centralized identity platform. And we want to connect this decentralized technology together with a lot of Indian system integrators and give the Indian world community, the Indian ecosystem, smart contracts connected to Indian identities so that you can build upon all kinds of interesting applications for that world. And under that, you see blockchain platforms. Blockchain has a scalability challenge. Web3, we want to automate the whole world. If you currently look at, for example, Web2, Facebook has, does anybody know, 60,000 likes per second. The Visa network is something like 40,000 transactions per second. So if you look at all the individual, centralized, small and big infrastructures, then if you add everything up, we need millions and millions of transactions per second. A typical chain right now, whether it's Solana, Polygon, or EOS as we use it, in practicality, they can do 10,000s of simple transactions per second, but as soon as it starts to be more complex, they can do 4,000 transactions per second. So that means, let's say, law of Moore, we can do a 10x. That would mean that we still need thousands of blockchains. Thousands of blockchains to finally reach millions of transactions per second. That's why we launched geographical chains. There's other companies that launched sister chains for gaming. You can imagine that the big firms in this trade show will have their own chain and connect suppliers to their own supplier network chain. So in this way, you can see a revolution of all kinds of chains. But what you also need is inter-blockchain communication. We need to connect all these chains together so that you as a user, you don't want to know all that. You just want to use your application, you have a wallet, and you receive a nice picture of somebody else that's sending you something, or you want to prove that you were here, proof of attendance, or you want to prove that you were at the football match, so the football club has sent you a proof of attendance that you were at this UEFA Cup final or something. All of that, you don't care on what blockchain it is. You just want that proof of attendance in your wallet. And maybe you want to even have the freedom to do stuff with it in a certain way. There's hotel chains that want to issue a voucher that gives you 50% discount on your next drink in the Sky Bar. All of that needs millions and millions of transactions. So that's why we see that scalability is a very, very big issue. But we're solving it right now by gluing all those components together. Part of that is something that is called fast finality. For the technical people here in the room, come to our booth. I can tell you a little bit about it, but I think it's too technical for this audience. So one of the last slides I have, and then I even have some times for questions. It's pretty reasonably to see here. I already mentioned it before. Splinterland is a game on the WEX blockchain. This chart is sorted on number of concurrent users per day. So this game has 305,000 users. The second one also almost 300,000 users. That's not a game, by the way. That's a platform for swapping tokens. The third one is Alien World, which is a game where we do all kinds of hosting for. So we run a part of that technical infrastructure. Has 235,000 concurrent daily users. So where are we in the web space, Web3 space? That's the volume we have right now. It's not millions, it's not tens of millions, it's 300,000. It's the biggest game, the biggest used game in the biggest used solution in the ecosystem. Many people know Axie Infinity, which is number 5. And many people very likely know number 7, which is OpenSea, which is a NFT trading platform that is on Ethereum. Of course, the total value locked in that sort of platforms can be higher than on certain games, but it's interesting to see that it's still, what is it, 53,000 users on a daily basis on that sort of platform. So it's very tiny. Everything that is in the Web3 space is still very tiny, but it's absolutely going to be there. With these sort of platforms, we can build new IT architectures. So if you are in IT, if you are in the cybersecurity space, then you might have heard of a concept that is called Zero Trust. This is a sort of architectural approach for how to work with IT computer systems. This is very difficult right now because the rate of change has gone up very fast. And right now, you don't know who your users are. So if you are a big corporation, your employees will work from home. They will work from their own laptop, and it's very difficult to secure them. The concept and the architecture that is right now used is called Zero Trust. And my prediction is that we will move to a world where we will use blockchain-based architectures to secure this. Yesterday, I had a panel discussion in Amsterdam with some people from MasterCard and from ING Bank. And the lady from the ING Bank was completely not supporting of my idea that everything will be blockchain. And then I gave that some thought on how can I convince her? 30 years ago, if you're old enough, in computer networks, we didn't use TCP/IP. The internet was using TCP/IP, and internal networks were using DECnet and SNA and NetBIOS and that sort of protocols. And by the arriving of the internet, everybody started to use TCP/IP. I think this will happen with blockchains as well. We will connect to a Web3 world. In this Web3 world, we'll see a lot of blockchain technology. You connect to NFT platforms, you connect to DeFi trading platforms, you will use stablecoin payment facilities, and all of them are your outside world as an enterprise. This is the way you advertise, this is the way you communicate to your clients using that sort of technology stacks. That would mean that it would be easy to connect to the inside world with that sort of technology as well. And just as it happened with TCP/IP moving to the inside of a computer network, I think blockchains will move inside as well, meaning that every database in the world will be replaced by blockchain technology. Web3 technology will be everywhere and will move inside of the corporations. And our architecture, based on the Antelope software, will be a very fundamental piece of that, is my prediction. Thank you.